Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Okolo Enemona, and I'm a product designer. And today we're talking on once upon a design, the power of storytelling. Next slide. When we think of storytelling, we imagine tales by moonlight, fairy tales, and heroes. And honestly, you actually wouldn't be that off. But when we are talking about storytelling, especially next slide, please. Next, next. When we think of storytelling, we imagine tales by moonlight, fairy tales, previous slide. Yeah. We imagine fairy tales, tales by moonlight, heroes, and honestly, it wouldn't be that far off. But when we are actually talking about storytelling in design, it means something a bit different and it can be expressed in two major ways. But let's first start with what is storytelling. So, a simple Google search will define storytelling as the social and cultural activity of sharing stories. But it doesn't end there. A more detailed definition would be the use of stories or narratives as a communication tool to value, share, and capitalize on the knowledge of individuals. So, the key point I want us to pick out from this definition is communication tool, value, and sharing knowledge because that's what storytelling is all about. Storytelling is next slide. Storytelling is about invoking emotions. And at this point, we want to invoke emotions from our audience, users, clients, and stakeholders. And we want to invoke emotions such as acceptance, understanding, and create a shared vision with these people. And it's not enough for them to simply see your work. You want them to feel your work. So let me take you back to your childhood. You spent hours watching Disney movies, Marvel movies, and now, as you are grown, you can still reminisce on these memories. They were able to share life lessons using simple stories. And this framework that Disney used was made by a writer, Christopher Vogler. He cracked the code with the hero's journey, which is a framework that has become famous because it works. It mirrors real life. It follows the hero's journey through trials and tribulations, and they overcome the trials and tribulations to achieve their goal. But in real life, stakeholders and users do not have the time for a long, winding journey of trials and tribulations. Nobody wants to scale over mountains and slay dragons just for a true love's kiss. Next slide, please. So, after tons of research, I was able to come up with two different frameworks that can help you infuse storytelling into your processes. And the first of this framework is the hero scene plot approach. And this framework talks about storytelling in creation. It is used to invoke emotions from your users and being able to infuse these emotions into your product. Next slide. So, the hero section. So, the first part talks about who is this journey about? Who is the Tom Cruise in your Mission Impossible? And spoiler alert, it's the user. The user has to be front and center, and you need to communicate with your user and understand their problem on a fundamental level. So in design, we have numerous techniques to actually get to know our user properly. We have user personas and the rest. So by properly doing your user research, you can understand what is actually driving your user, their needs, their wants, and be able to translate this into your product. So the next part of this framework is the scene. So this considers various scenarios in which the product will play a role in the user's life. So in this part, you want to talk about the different life scenarios. You want to talk about the different life scenarios that the product will be infused or the solution will be infused into the user. There are many, and you have to think about all of them. It helps you understand that in actuality, your product is not the star of the show. It's actually just a side character in this adventure. And again, in UI UX design, we have storyboarding, user journeys to be able to visualize the step-by-step process and the different ways that this solution can actually play a pivotal role in your user's life. So the last part of this framework is the plot. So this is mapping the user's journey from the initial interaction to the desired outcome. So from the very moment that your user begins using your solution to when they get their desired goal, you want to be able to effectively map every single touch point in that the user is going to encounter while using your solution, and be able to map out the easiest, the quickest route from the beginning to the end of this interaction. Next slide. So the second framework speaks is the who, why, how approach, and it speaks to storytelling in presentation, and it's used to invoke emotions from stakeholders and clients. Next slide. Good. So the who, identify the target audience and understanding their needs and wants. So this changes it with every presentation that you put out there. So you may be talking to stakeholders today, you could be talking to colleagues and sales reps tomorrow, you could be talking to developers. You need to understand who you are actually speaking to be able to know what they need to hear, what you should glance over, what context you need to explain, and more. The why speaks to why are you doing this? What is the problem? So at this point, as a designer, I know I'm guilty about this. You should refrain from speaking about your process. This is not the time for you to pull out the design dictionary and start talking about all the crazy aids that you did, because unless you are speaking to a room full of designers. So this is the point that you structure and present the problem in a relatable way based on the user research that you've conducted. Bring this problem to a real life scenario. Let's take, for instance, you are talking about a bill splitting, you are creating a bill splitting solution, and you're speaking to millionaires. Your stakeholders are millionaires. They're not worried about splitting the bill for Netflix and going to restaurants. So they cannot understand the problem if it is presented that way. No, you have to focus on the experience around the problem. So the last part of this framework is the how. So you emphasize the solution and why this is the best move. How will this problem be solved with your product? And most importantly, what is in it for your audience? So if you're speaking to stakeholders, you have to start thinking, how is this going to make them money? How will your solution merge with the user's life, and how will it improve it? Next slide. Effective storytelling techniques. Next slide. So mastering storytelling can be tricky because your audience is different every time, and you need to combine visual, written, and audio storytelling. But here are some time-old tricks, uh, time-old tricks to craft brilliant products and invoke emotions. Next. Less is more. So you don't want to create a solution or a presentation that is filled with words and words that is not a newspaper. So you need to say less and actually pass across your message by using graphics, by using pictures, by using diagrams, because people relate more to when they can see how this thing is actually happening in real life. Engaging humor. So it's not, you don't have to have a presentation or a solution that is straight laced or too strict. And the good thing about humor is that if you can make your listener or your audience laugh, that's already one point of connection. That person already feels like, okay, we have something in common. At least we have the same sense of humor. Next slide. Use emotional language. So that speaks to you using simple English that every single person in the room can understand. Use languages that would invoke emotion, that will put your audience in the shoes of who you're trying to talk about. Demonstrate market fit. So you should be able to explain why this solution is needed right now in plain English. Why is this necessary? Next slide. Context and details. So I believe that context is very important, and the little tiny details in your solution is what makes your solution your solution. There are so many payment apps out there, but what makes payment app A different from payment app B is the little iterations that are in that product. And that is a very important thing that you do not want to glance over when you're trying to explain a solution or you're trying to create a solution for your users. And then the last tip is value first. So That actually speaks to the outline of your content. You want to write out how you want, step by step, how you want your content to flow. Do you want to start from your introduction? Do you want to start from the end? It's actually all up to you, but you need to have a clear path that the audience is going to follow. So, next slide. Key takeaways. Next. So why use storytelling? Honestly, storytelling transcends design boundaries and permits commercials, brandings, and even supermarket layouts. It emphasizes the solution and experience derived from a product that holds greater significance than the product itself. It pushes for connection using emotional language and humor while staying flexible to adapt your delivery for maximum input. So by mastering concise and impactful storytelling, you can write less, say more, and captivate your audience. And if all this is not convincing you why you should use storytelling when you're crafting solutions or when you're presenting the solutions to key stakeholders or key design decision makers, it actually saves you time. I know a couple of us that are product designers or UI UX designers. We've sat down in rooms with our head of finance or the person that signs the check, and you're explaining the same thing over and over again. And they're asking you questions that I thought I mentioned this in my presentation. But when you use effective storytelling, all these questions can be answered because you are taking your audience on a journey, the ups and the downs, the pain points of your users, the roadblocks when you were preparing that solution. All of that can be effectively explained by using simple storytelling. Next slide. Inspiring action. So the power of storytelling inspires the audience. It fosters excitement and understanding. It bridges gaps in beliefs and experiences and creates a shared understanding of value for sustainable and scalable design. With effective storytelling, you can actually get every single member of the product pipeline on board from the start to the finish. And that is the key for sustainable and scalable design. If, for instance, you're no longer part of that product, you want to have been able to inspire every other member to properly understand what the end goal is. So, by implementing the principles of storytelling, you can transform your design process and captivate your audience, making them anticipate and engage with your narrative. Thank you. Next slide. So if you want more resources, you want this slide, you want anything concerning storytelling and a whole lot more works that have been written about storytelling, please scan this QR code to access all this information. Thank you so much for joining.